Hi, everyone. It's October 9, 2019. I've been bookmarking articles on Syria, Trump, U.S. We're about to launch strikes on Syria again, chemical weapons. That was an article that I saw last week. Uh, I I don't know how to make sense of this world that we live in anymore because everything changes so rapidly. And I posted on, well, Trump's rapid changes, our foreign policy. Well, okay, there's, n- okay, I don't know what to say anymore. You cannot make sense of what's happening based on the information that we get now. And when you can't make sense of our world, when everything has just gone into complete, I don't know, lunacy, idiocy, when you realize, oh my God, you are living, well, it's either 1984, well, it's a Idiocracy 1984. And in real life, when you encounter people and you realize they have no clue what is going on. Those who do have a clue, they don't care about what's going on. So you can never get that matching response to your experience. You really do begin to, well, I got an email from a subscriber in Germany, and he mentioned in his email that he wrote shell shocked. Shell shocked. Well, that I feel like I've lived permanent shell shock, only kind of getting more and more deep and firm. That is my state of mind. I'm just in shell shock. Now, well, if you have watched me for years, then on what I've been posting, you'll get that I posted on an awful lot and certainly posted on what was happening in the world and, uh, yeah, that geopolitics, those issues. I honestly, Trump has made things so impossible to understand. Any of you read the book 1984? Are you feeling like you are every single day more and more living as Winston in 1984? Well, the headlines, that you don't even have to know the contents anymore because, well, tomorrow, no doubt it'll change. So you get the U.S. could launch strikes against Syria over chemical weapons. It doesn't matter how many independent investigations they report. Not Assad. Actually, it's more coming from the investigation led to those that the U.S. funds, supports, but we continually have our quote unquote leaders, lying leaders, who continually throw out lies about the leader of whatever nation we want to take over, and crickets. So we now live a time when, yeah, collectively we are completely powerless, and I don't like that because the majority do not care about anything and they appreciate the lies, they believe the lies, or they don't care about the lies, and we are flooded now. The world now, life has just become, hey, a lie. Deal with it. All right, well, if you regard truth as something that is really important, then you probably also feel shell shocked. Yeah, okay. launching strikes against Syria over chemical weapons once again. Trump administration reignites war against Syria. Last year, I posted on, wow, okay, Trump, we were victorious over ISIS. We were pulling out of Syria. A week later, Trump sending more soldiers, boots on the ground, into Syria to fight ISIS that clearly we were not victorious over. And we're getting the same thing, only more. It's more exaggerated. It's coming at us fast and furious. How do you make sense of this when you cannot make sense of the world that you live in? Well, I think a lot of people give up. In this video, I really want to point out that we are living now Oceania, 1984. And we are all Winston. And, well, what Winston, his fate in 1984, if you've read the book, you know that something similar is going to be coming to all of us. Erdogan vows Sunday incursion into Syria as Pentagon waffle. Syrian Kurds say partnership with Assad or Russia likely if Turkey invades. Trump, I will totally destroy the Turkish economy. I'm so sick of war. I'm so sick of war. I'm so sick of the violence. I'm so sick of the threats. I've lived it my entire life. Aren't you tired of this? Now, what it reflects is that clearly not just those who are, in these power positions, taking the instruction from those behind the curtain, and those behind the curtain pulling the strings of the puppets that get up in front of the television and they make their announcements about war. That never seems to go away. I will totally destroy the Turkish economy. A NATO member. Okay. In last-minute phone call before imminent Syria invasion, Erdogan, doesn't matter. Full Turkish assault on northeast Syria coming next. Doesn't matter. Buckle up. Abrupt Syria policy shift is sign of Trump. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So today when I came across, you love that sky over Turkey, a live video, Turkey begins Syria offensive. And I was like, okay, I absolutely do feel I am living as Winston in 1984. So, this is over, the live broadcast is over, but I did take note of the sky. Yep. The atmosphere is gone. And just as an aside, if you watch foreign movies, foreign TV shows, which I do because I can't travel, so I like to get some sense of the culture in other countries. Every country, whether Danish, France, it doesn't matter, Turkey, Mexico, Colombia, I can name them. They all look the same as what we got going here. So, alright, I thought, is the sun, that's the channel, the sun, are we going to start seeing bombs drop or, that shock and awe? Alright, we didn't. Not in this broadcast. I did come across, Erdogan says Syria military operation has begun as Turkish F-16s bomb Kurdish positions. Okay, well, I look at this and I think, what do you think when we don't even know if it's real, what's going on? We need, the ordinary citizens to verify what's going on. If we get verification, but we don't know them, no trust. No trust. Trust has been obliterated. So, truth is going, no trust, and we don't know what we are seeing. Well, I honestly, look, we've been whipped into a frenzy with war. USA, USA, #1. Right before the shock and awe that we watched 24/7 on mainstream media, the bombing of Iraq that had nothing to do with 9/11. We have been living continuous war. How could you not feel that, well, the similarities of 1984? If you've not read that book, I really highly recommend doing so. This, as I was watching these and even reading some of the articles, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we are living 1984 with, well, corrections made. Trump says one thing one day, then the opposite the next day. Correction. All right, listen to this.
It does not matter if the war is not real, or when it is, that victory is not possible. The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. The essential act of modern warfare is the destruction of the produce of human labor. A hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. In principle, the war effort is always planned to keep society on the brink of starvation. The war is waged by the ruling group against its own subjects, and its object is not victory over Eurasia or Eastasia, but to keep the very structure of society intact.
Should I play it again? Why don't I? Because it's very profound, and it is what we are living.
In accordance with the principles of doublethink, it does not matter if the war is not real, or when it is, that victory is not possible. The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. The essential act of modern warfare is the destruction of the produce of human labor. A hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. In principle, the war effort is always planned to keep society on the brink of starvation. The war is waged by the ruling group against its own subjects, and its object is not victory over Eurasia or Eastasia, but to keep the very structure of society intact.
So Trump campaigns on getting us out of these unnecessary wars, and he wages war. He has upped the funding for the Pentagon. Most of our taxes go to the military-industrial complex that is, wow, doing fabulously under Trump. It's waged against us, Americans. But a whole lot of Americans don't get that. And this is about bringing us all down. That's the point. So, Here, Winston. If you've not read 1984, there are three totalitarian superstates: Oceania, East Asia, Eurasia. And they have these hate weeks in Oceania. So during Oceania's hate week, and I never watched the full movie, so I don't know if it's in the movie, but it is in the book. You hear on a loudspeaker in Oceania, war against Eurasia. And then people come outside, they're whipped into a frenzy, and, well, it's kind of like the USA, USA, number one, okay? And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the frenzy, you hear from the loudspeaker an announcement. The war, oops, it's not against Eurasia. It's actually against East Asia. And, well, everybody just stops, and they're confused. But the confusion only lasts moments because, well, then the frenzy is whipped up again. And they're all hating their enemy. First it was Eurasia, then it's East Asia, and I'm not sure if I got the super states right. It could have been East Asia and then to Eurasia. But then Winston has to make, that's his job. He makes the corrections so that everything is documented in accordance with, well, that official narrative. Yeah, the Ministry of Truth. All right, so here's Winston making a correction about war. And it's a different war. But this is what we are living today. This is what we are living today. And it really is pretty remarkable that we're not getting the matching response from our fellow Americans. As you guys in your country, whatever country, whether it's Canada, whether it's Germany, Italy, Spain, France, Australia, England, Ireland, Scotland, doesn't matter. We're not getting the kind of response that you would think that you would get. Why? Well, it's kind of like what was just said in here. Poverty and ignorance. And we've got a whole lot of ignorance. And we've got people now who are happy about their ignorance. And those who still critically think, those who have a brain that's operating as it should, you get attacked. This is not what we lived not too long ago. So let's just listen to what's happening in Oceania. Winston.
Such a careless report must not exist.
Here, sorry.
Ben, you know it will have been brought to your work cubicle on request. This irregularity has been recorded. Return to your cubicle, Smith. KZ6090 Smith W. The repair to your apparatus will be executed immediately.
Correction required as follows. The time for the 17th of March 1984 copy sent here that contains reported
his brother. He is alleged to have predicted the two Asian forces would launch attack in North Africa. Please rectify in accordance with fact. What do you... Your technical fault has been put right?
Yes, I'm able to go on now.
In his broadcast speech last night, his brother referred in confident terms to the probability of a full-scale invasion of offensive early next month. There is now no possible doubt, he said, that it will take place in North Africa. Other fronts are expected to remain quiet. Extraordinary.
The speech was evidently misreported.
Press has reported, since the offensive, in fact, came in India.
South India, 3 days ago.
Exactly. Such a careless report must not exist.
So, the official narrative. Correction made. Alright, I got this from a subscriber whom I'd like to thank. Listen to what's happening in the EU, European countries.
This is very urgent. This is a call out to Boris Johnson, MP.
And I apologize for the volume, which I cannot sync on my computer anymore.
Who is also the Prime Minister of the UK. It has come to light that letters have been received by General Riley and by Admiral Sir Roger Lane Knott that irrespective of the result of Brexit on the 31st of October 2019, Europe will, and I repeat, will take control of all our armed forces and security services from the 1st of November 2019. I say again, from the 1st of November 2019, Europe, Brussels, will take control of our entire military force and security services, including all the budget and all the decision-making processes for who we go to war against from the 1st of November this year, irrespective of the result of Brexit. Now, I have just been passed this information. This is hot off the press. Now, as you're aware, Lord James broached this subject in the House of Lords a couple of weeks ago and it went viral on YouTube and through social media sites. He was heckled saying that it was a load of bollocks. Well, it's true. It's actually real. And at least one or two lords have been found to be complicit in this military takeover by Brussels and are thinking, or are perhaps being asked about tendering their resignation from the House of Lords. Now, if Boris Johnson doesn't act now to get us out of EU military unification, he also is complicit in this military and security service takeover. So
Okay, so I will link to everything. You can watch the full broadcast. Centralization of militaries. So, first you centralize in Brussels, and then you centralize out of the United Nations. That was the whole point of the European Union, to abolish the sovereignty of Europe, of countries in Europe, and have central control, which was essentially out of Brussels. Now, the North American Union, which, well, hasn't, well, it's manifested, but no, there hasn't been a North American Union like the European Union, but essentially, the militaries are operating together. Certainly, Canadian forces and U.S. forces. There have been documents signed, military documents, where the U.S. can go over to Canada, military can come right into the United States. So, what's happening here? It's a loss of sovereignty, And we are now rapidly heading for that new world order. You know, when the Pope comes out and says, obey the United Nations, you know that we are, whether we see it in our lifetimes, those of us who are older, maybe 60 and older, I don't know. Many of us are going to die a lot sooner than we would have had we not been so assaulted with so many poisons and the frequencies and everything. But eventually, because of the chaos that we are seeing all over the world, eventually leaders are just going to submit to the United Nations and say, we can't do it anymore, chaos all over. Yeah, and if you've been watching the headlines here, martial law unfolding in Iraq, 30 protesters shot, internet blackout, 24-hour curfews. How about Hong Kong? Yeah, well, things are still raging out of control in Hong Kong, and ATMs run out of cash in Hong Kong. Central bank steps in to prevent panic among the public. India ran out of cash. Well, that had to do with some massive fraud, and they were lining up. They couldn't access the funds in the banks in India. I mean, even when you see things like this.
Here is China's communist government. This Sixers fan who grew up in China says he had every right to express his opinion.
He is standing in the land of freedom, so I think he is free to do what he feels like to do.
China has decided.
Well, wait a second. Land of freedom. United States, Philadelphia. This is what happened.
Decided to come out and enjoy this preseason game between the Sixers and a team from China, but it all comes in the middle of an international dispute involving free speech, the NBA, and China's heavy-handed reaction. Tonight's game between the 76ers and China's team, the Guangzhou Long Lions, went on as planned as an international firestorm hangs over the Wells Fargo Center. And on the sidelines, Sam Walks and his wife held Free Hong Kong and Free HK signs that were confiscated by security in the first quarter.
We brought two signs, one said Free Hong Kong, one said Free HK, and we were just sitting in our seats near the Chinese bench.
Then, in the second quarter, this happened. Both got kicked out of the game when Walk started yelling, Free Hong Kong. As someone who used to live there, he supports the movement.
We were saying, Free Hong Kong. What's wrong with that?
The NBA's relationship with China is...
And then they get kicked out. So, what that man did, it would have been completely fine decades ago. It's not fine anymore. No, free speech in the land of free speech, in the land of freedom. Are people not recognizing what has happened to the United States of America? Are people not recognizing it's gone? I guess not. And this whole, trade war with China. Okay, Trump regime. Isn't it interesting that Obama comes in and we start using the title czar? He had something like 45 czars. Czar? When did we ever have a title of someone in our government that had the title of czar? Regime. The United States now is referred to as a regime. The Trump regime escalates economic war on China. U.S. is a declining empire, the more aggressive and widespread its malign activities, the sooner its fall from grace will arrive. Vaunted Pentagon forces failed to defeat Taliban fighters in Afghanistan after 18 years of trying. Nor Syrian resistance after 9 years. Yemeni Houthis after 5 years. Continuous war. We're not victorious over anything. Nothing. 40 years of war on Iran by other means failed to return the country to U.S. client state status, Trump regime, economic terrorism, no more successful than earlier toughness by his predecessors. Okay. Trade war. Now they're going into like their 11th meeting and we can't get any agreement. Continuous war. Trade war. Continuous. Real war. Continuous. We don't even know if there is actual engagement in war. They just make the announcements, just like in 1984. But, are we any different than China? Airport customs agent badgers journalists, won't let pass until he admits to writing propaganda. What? Okay. Yeah. Dulles International Airport, Ben Watson, who was returning from an assignment in Denmark, he goes into the permanent resident re-entry aisle at Dulles after the Customs and Border Protection official asked the usual question about undeclared fruit or meat. The interaction took an unusual and unsettling turn. What do you do? He said, journalism. Then the officer said, so you write propaganda, right? And he said, no. Officer, you're a journalist. Watson, yes. Officer, you write propaganda, right? No, I'm in journalism covering national security and homeland security, and with many of the same skills I used in the U.S. Army as a public affairs officer. Some would argue that's propaganda. Officer, you're a journalist? Watson, yes. Officer, you write propaganda, right? Then Watson, he says, for the purposes of expediting this conversation, yes. The officer, a fourth time, you write propaganda, right? Watson, for the purposes of expediting this conversation, yes. Officer, here you go. Then you can go. Winston, 2 + 2 = 5, right? No, 4. And then he's tortured. 2 + 2 = 5, right? No, it equals 4. Then he's tortured more. 2 + 2 = 5, right? And finally, he says yes. Okay. All right. Life has radically changed. And American and Chinese cities lead the world in spying on people. And our United States government was buying those surveillance cameras from China. Reported on a whole long time ago. We have surveillance cameras from China all over our country. And people can't see that these leaders are working together. They actually think we're at war with China. Oh, wait, no, it's Russia. Whipped up into a frenzy. No, it's Syria. Or it's Venezuela. Or Adobe cancels all user accounts in Venezuela to comply with Trump order. Adobe is deactivating all user accounts in Venezuela, saying that the action is necessary to comply with the executive order issued by President Donald Trump. The action affects both free and paid accounts and no refunds. We are unable to issue refunds. Executive order 13884 orders the cessation of all activity with the entities, including no sales, service, support, refunds, credits, etc. Yes, you abide by the president or the CEO that gets his orders from those behind the curtain. This is a true statement. Wherever America has gone, terrorism has expanded. Iran's president. The U.S. is the main instigator of terrorism throughout the Middle East. ISIS was created and funded and trained, and they get supplies from the U.S., the U.K., Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Documented fact. But the people of Oceania can only do that double think and double speak, and 2 + 2 = 5. See, Winston knew that the only way to revert back to a free state was if the proles, if the ordinary people rose up and fought for their freedom. And, well, we're all Winston now. And our fellow citizens in our respective countries are doing squat. So life is going to become more and more insane, and more, well, will we feel that boot upon our face. We will lose more freedoms. This is coming. And more abject craziness that you just can't make sense of anymore. You know? And there are so many around the world that really no longer like Americans. This took place in Greece. In Greece, in other videos, they were burning the American flag. People are tired, fed up with the U.S. empire. So if you think we're going to get support, well, we might get support from, those in countries that, they're awake and they've been standing united as we stand united with others who are quote unquote awake in their countries. But that's it. That's it. There's an awful lot of people around the world that want the U.S. wiped off the map. And then we have these awake people who believe that we're not doing anything, it's all Israel. Oh, okay. So, we're innocent. Alrighty. Well, I don't know what to say, but of course, nobody is listening to the people in countries anymore. U.S., Greece sign revised defense cooperation agreement. The strong arming of other countries is what we do. And the lying has become so outrageous. So we have Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, coming out and saying it's not QE4. The handing over, the bailout of banks again, the printing of money, exactly the same as all of the other QEs, but this one's not. Okay, make the correction, Winston. It's not QE. So, all of you who are citizens of Oceania, you're to believe that. It's not. It is, but it's not. 2 + 2 = 5. And then we have these people who lie incessantly. And we can't even, individually speaking, we have no integrity, really, that we can't demand the truth. We just keep accepting the lies. That's a demoralized people. So Elizabeth Warren, right, okay, Native American. Well, this time she tells this fabricated tale of injustice as a cornerstone of her 2020 campaign pitch, telling people that she was told not to return to teaching after a single year because she was visibly pregnant, and the principal did what principals did in those days: wish me luck and hire someone else for the job. Oh, my God. Oh, how dare he, Elizabeth. This is what, this is a reflection of the people. This is a reflection of Americans. This is what she said in an interview long ago.
18, and then graduated from college actually after I married. And my first year post graduation, I worked, it was in a public school system, but I worked with the children with disabilities. And I did that for a year. And then that summer, I actually didn't have the education courses, so I was on an emergency certificate, it was called. And I went back to graduate school and took a couple of courses in education and said, I don't think this is going to work out for me. And I was pregnant with my first baby. So I had a baby and stayed home for a couple of years. And I was really casting about, thinking, what am I going to do? And my husband's view of it was, stay home. We have children, we'll have more children. You'll love this. And I was very restless about it. And so I went back home to Oklahoma. By this point, we were living in New Jersey because of his job. I went back home to Oklahoma for Christmas. And
her husband said, stay home. She's telling this tale that she was visibly pregnant and the principal fired her because she was visibly pregnant. This is what we've become. We don't even have the integrity within our own collective self to get rid of these people. Expect more lies. Expect the worst of the worst to rise to the top. Expect more idiocy, more insanity, more, doublespeak, more corrections in the official narrative. Truth literally destroyed because it's coming. No, I can't present a rosy picture of what we are living. This is the reality. Reality. And if we can't face reality, you know damn well that we ain't getting anywhere. It's very sad. It's so tragic. It's beyond comprehension.